And I wanted to try and make this as interactive as possible. So I'm going to ask just one question, and then hopefully people will have some opinions, ask questions, see where we go. Or if that doesn't work, we'll just go and have beers early. No, that's not the attitude. That's not
the beers
the
don't start for a good 25 minutes.
So just everyone in the audience stay silent at all times.
No. So we'll start with Dom at the end and just ask, today, is there something you've picked up which is, particularly interesting, something that you've reflected on, that you've heard today that you think is really important when we're thinking about kind of where the market's going, the next big thing?
I think for me, is this working? Yes. Was the AI panel I moderated of speaking to those providers who are basically trying to help those enterprises deploy AI services. I think for me it was, well, actually we're in a stage now where there is ROI being deployed. There is use cases being delivered. It's not the testing phase anymore. It is the deployment phase. And for me, I think that's the next stage of where we're going to be as an industry. Is we're not talking about AI services as what's it going to do? It can deliver this. So this is what you should do. And I think the challenge will be for everyone in the room is how do they bring their business to that point where they can sell those services as well?
Great. Tom, what was your...
I think there was probably two. So one was the dynamic between differentiation and AI. So we saw a lot of the vendor innovation, but you can't help but feel that AI is also eroding the ability to differentiate. The vendors are innovating at such a pace, but a lot of the time it's getting chucked in for free. And where a channel partner or a service provider might have bundled stuff together, made a solution and added value, it's becoming, I think, increasingly difficult to do that when they're giving away so many useful tools. And the other one is probably the talk of hybrid and on-prem. I think that's been a trend at Cavell for the last 6 months or so. I wasn't here last year, but I can't imagine anyone was talking about integrating with Avaya Aura. That came up. Mitel was mentioned a couple of times. So the whole data sovereignty piece is becoming quite interesting at the moment. So hearing that talk, and I don't think it's a coincidence that Cisco were here this year. They've been talking about Broadworks quite a lot. So I think that's quite an interesting dynamic we're hearing a lot about.
Great. Patrick?
I think it was actually something that we talked about yesterday in planning, and I'm really pleased that it came up multiple times today, and that was alignment with the vendors. So we've got the gold sponsors here, we've got Microsoft, we've got Zoom, we've got Cisco. I'm starting to question, can you align your strategy with all three? We're talking about multi-platform. Can you truly align your strategy with all three of those vendors? Although the Venn diagrams are sort of increasingly overlapping, there's areas of differentiation. They're all moving into contact centers. Cisco have got devices. Microsoft have got the productivity stack. So I think that there is a real question for the providers that we've seen being most successful have really invested and really aligned with a particular provider. And I think it's an open question as to whether you can truly align with all three of those vendors. And that goes even broader if you go into, can you align with the CRM vendor? If you want to add voice into Salesforce, do you need to completely focus on data management and CRM? So I think that platform alignment piece is interesting.
Yeah, I know we've been talking about that a bit, and it even came up in a commercial diligence project I did recently, which is how realistic is it if you don't move with, let's say, Cisco to the one Cisco approach or Microsoft with Copilot, if you don't move, do you still remain relevant? And can you afford to, and Zoom similarly, can you afford to be pulled in all directions? It's kind of interesting if you're going to be really relevant to, are they going to lose interest in you if you are, don't commit to their strategy? And
I think it's not even the case of alignment. It's we heard so much today. You need to pick up on the pieces that they're not going to offer. So you don't want to be disintermediated by a technology vendor. Therefore, you have to fill in the gaps that they're not going to do or that they're not keenly focused on. And can you do that for all the vendors?
Yeah.
For me, I think, kind of echoing Tom a little bit, but it was very much like the Cisco came on stage talking about on-premises, hybrid. We had a Mitel customer on the stage as well, highlighting all of those use cases where on-premise is still so valued for their business. And I would say that in the past sort of 6 months, the cloud projections we have are still very, very solid. The number of on-premise seats still dropping, but the number of use cases that are kind of coming out of the woodwork and planting a flag in the sand and saying, actually, I don't trust my whole contact center in the cloud, and the growth of sort of hybrid is very interesting. And I think it's kind of underscored, even if I do put my contact center into a cloud platform, is the call recording going to be on the cloud? Is the compliance solution going to be on the cloud? Like, is the customer data storage going to be on the cloud? And I always, when I hear these things, I think like, if we're doing our forecast 3 to 5 years in the future, and edge compute gets stronger, data costs get higher, there's more competition for data center services, more on-prem rather than less. I just find that idea really interesting. Because if you have a really powerful computer on the edge, why are we sending all of this stuff over the network? And we'll secure it and we'll make it.
Yeah, and so I'll do one observation, which it kind of hit me today, what the impact of the switch off of the PSTN in the UK market is doing to the providers in the UK market. I spoke to a number, 4 or 5 people who said, Matt, look, we're in a process now of migrating customer bases, and when we migrate that customer base, the customer realizes they haven't been using the amount of ISDN channels they thought they were using. So even when we move them to a new base, we're going to be writing down 40% of that revenue, and that's if we do well. So if we migrate them fully, so that really hit me that, this race to getting value and how we create new products and new services is really being accelerated. And I apologize for being a UK issue. I know there's a number of players here who've kind of been through that as a country, but, that really kind of hit me. I spoke to 4 or 5 guys who I've known in the market for a long, long time, and they were just all kind of making that point that it's really tough as we go through that migration. So I think from a UK PLC question, that's going to be an interesting thing. If I've got to go through all this effort to migrate a big base of customers to a new cloud, probably go to cloud, but I downgrade the revenue of to my investors by 30 to 40%, that doesn't probably please them. But yeah, so that was just a kind of a thing that I kind of knew about, but I just talked to so many people today who raised it as an issue. So anything anybody would like to either ask the audience or observation that they think has come out today of kind of what they've seen or heard? We probably have a roving mic somewhere. Oh, there we go. Anybody got a question or observation? Everybody wants a drink. No questions, no observations. No?
It's been a long day.
It's been a long day. Okay, all right. Well, good.
Thank you for your interactivity.
I just wondered people's thoughts on, there was a discussion topic earlier around how people don't need regional numbers as much, or they might want to keep like a London number, or they might want to move to one that's not regional specific. I wondered if, like, what you expect the interplay there might be with all of this deglobalization stuff people are talking about, because it's interesting they're kind of happening at the same time.
The role of numbers as identity in a kind of micro way, how does that affect people in the UK, where you want to be?
Numbers is a unique identity. That is a discussion that you and I have had on a number of occasions. In direct answer to your question, I think with the deglobalization, I think we probably will see increased demand for regionalized numbers in particular areas, because there is a continental conflict going on from various different standpoints in terms of rejection of Eastern technologies in a lot of ways, suspicion about North American technology from a European basis. So I think we probably will see that, not only coming back to a sort of country basis. I think it goes into a bigger question that we've talked about a lot, which is, what is your unique identifier as an individual? Is it your mobile phone number? It used to be your landline. We talked about it earlier on. I think Tamer was mentioning in his keynote, I can still ream off my friends' childhood landline numbers. I am that old. But I think that piece about what is your unique identifier, but I would completely agree. I think we're going to see increased demand for it.
I was going to go ahead.
Well, we know that different numbers have different value, right? It's an intrinsic idea in all of our heads, kind of a tribalism, if you will. I'm from London, I know 020. If I get a call, it's probably from someone in London. If I've been dealing with a lot of London businesses, then that is a number that I recognize. It's less likely to be spam. If I get a call from a random UK mobile phone number, in this day and age, how many people in the room would assume that that is a spam call coming to me, right? And the same is true if that number is coming from outside the country, which is why they spoof UK phone numbers to begin with, right? So this idea, this de-geoization to keep numbers unique. I mean, when you deal with a lot of businesses in an area and then you get calls from businesses in that area, it makes sense to us. And that's why phone numbers are actually kind of valid. There are other alternatives, companies verifying verified calling separate from numbers, right? I know this is a call from my bank because Vodafone promised me that that's a call from my bank. And if you think about messaging, one of the reasons that RCS is growing in popularity again is for that extra layer of verifiability to say, yes, this is a text message from this company.
And a little shameless plug, we are launching a new series called our Impact Series, where we're looking at kind of key things we're interested in beyond what we normally do. And security is the first one we're launching at the end of this week. And identity management is a massive, I think, under-tapped future revenue opportunity for telcos. And the whole security topic is my biggest hot topic in terms, it's a boring one, but in some ways, but where we can make money, the next big thing, I'm fascinated by that. And this is part of identity management, but there's lots of things around that where I think service providers in the future can and generate revenue. We did enterprise research that we talked to enterprise and said, would you pay for those sorts of things? Yes, we would. If we get more securing, we're going to pay. It's not just about securing our networks. It's about, is there revenue opportunity there? And I think there is. So we are spending quite a bit of time thinking about, I got asked by an investor the other day, we don't want what's going to happen in 5 years. We don't want to happen in 10 years. What's the 15-year view? And I don't see a world where there isn't any telephone numbers in 15 years because it's such a global standard. It's still used as it will change, but I think you will get some regionalization, some less localization, but I still think it's going to be an important part of identity in the future. Is my take, but thank you for the question.
Likely to be a lot more metadata provided with phone calls.
Well, that's what we're already seeing. Rob's here from the CPAS Alliance, and I was at the CPAS event, and the amount of data that you can now pull in of know your customer into various forms to create that extra security layer is, I think, a massively interesting area. Some of it was talked about at your event in Amsterdam when I was there. Anybody got any other questions? Have we warmed you up, or are you all ready for a beer? Oh, there's one more. Somebody, where was it? Anybody else? No? One more question.
Just because you're the only person stood up, Matt, do you also have Cavell socks on?
Yes, yeah.
Important question.
Excellent question.
There we are.
We give you the data analysis straight away. This
is the new. We, as you will have seen, we went through a rebrand, and Dominic Black, who is in charge of many things, decided that we should invest in socks, which was a good idea. But some of our female members of our staff have said they're not ideal. If it's not necessarily a great product. For Katie at the back there has pointed this out, haven't you, Katie? Doesn't work with her shoes, so she hasn't worn them. But it just leaves it to me to thank everybody. There's the double Ds, Delina and Daniel, Daniel's at the back there. Where's Delina? She's hiding. They are our events team and put on these events and doing a tremendous job. A big thank you for all of you for attending and hanging on to the end. We're going to have some beer and drinks. And just a big thank you to all our sponsors. Amazing, support we receive from you, and we really, really appreciate it. And last but not least, thanks to the rest of the team, and thanks to my analyst team for your insights. Thank you very much, and have a good day.